Soon after taking office in January, Vermont Governor Peter Shumlin called for a new comprehensive energy plan for the state in 2011. The governor has called energy use and production in Vermont both great challenges and opportunities.
And what we look at as we plan out 20 years and more into the future is where Vermont should be going.
Elizabeth Miller is Commissioner of Vermont's Department of Public Service and was charged with writing the plan.
And what we're calling for is that Vermont move toward a renewable energy future, virtually fossil-free by mid-century. What we'd like to see is 90% total energy usage in Vermont renewable by mid-century.
The plan is quite extensive. It takes a bold look at Vermont's energy future. Two things are known for sure. You'll be seeing a lot more of these and a lot more of these. Vermont's total electrical use has actually declined in recent years. Perhaps that's due to efficiency programs, but the trend isn't expected to continue. Annual increases of 0.4% are expected during the next 20 years for a total annual electrical demand of 6.6 million megawatt hours. At the Renewable Energy Vermont Annual Conference and Expo, one look around the hotel parking lot will give you an idea of just where the hearts of these fans of the renewable power movement lie. Inside, vendors make their pitch, trying to convince customers that their product is both good for the environment and their pocketbook. John Blittersdorf first got into installing home solar units during the Y2K scare of the late 1990s.
This was the largest PV panel available back in the late 70s. It was a lot of money. I remember it was, when I bought these, it was like I was buying diamonds or something. It was really expensive. It's now over 30 years old, still works perfectly fine. It puts out full power. So it should be affordable to just about everyone. So then it's just a case of where do you put your disposable money and what's the return?
Vermont scale has long been the phrase used to describe the size of most of the state's solar and wind installations. But with that ambitious goal of 90% renewables, there's a new buzz now that bigger just might be better. So if you need to move up in size to meet demand, Barry's Northern Power has just the turbine for you.
So the Northern Power 100 is rated at 100 kilowatts. What that means in more practical terms is it can generate enough electricity for about 20 homes. In Vermont, there's 2 ski areas. There's one at an airport, there's one at Dynapower. You can see that near the whale's tails. So it's for light industry. They're also installed at schools, universities, wastewater treatment plants. So, somewhat larger facilities that would use that much power.
And then there's this. In a field just off Heinsberg Road in South Burlington, 382 of these solar trackers, Vermont's largest solar farm, putting out 2.2 megawatts of power, enough to power 500 Vermont homes. Looking like lines of spit-polished soldiers, these panels do a slow march across the field each day tracking the sun. Their synchronous movements choreographed by a GPS system in each unit. Andrew Savage is Communications Director for Williston's AllEarth Renewables.
When you position the panels perpendicular with the sun, those panels are able to produce more energy. There's more sun hitting those panels throughout the day. And so by following the sun, we're able to get up to 45% more energy than a fixed system on a roof, for example.
Just how big can Vermont go? Back at the Expo, keynote speaker Soren Hermansen is director of the SAMSO Energy and Environment Organization in Denmark. In 15 years, the island of SAMSO has gone from 100% dependence on imported energy to providing 100% of its electricity from wind power. Why did they do it?
Well, we didn't do it to save the climate. We didn't do it to save the whales or the rainforest. We did it to save ourselves. So survival of the island was one good issue to talk about. How can we create a project here that will generate jobs and opportunities and livelihoods and education and all the things that we need to make a full community where people want to live?
Then there's Germany, a country with perhaps the world's most ambitious energy plan. By 2050, the same goal year as Vermont, Germany plans to derive at least 80% of its power from renewable energy. But the schedule has been accelerated due to the tragedy at Japan's Fukushima nuclear power plant. Germany has now decided to immediately close half of its nuclear plants and speed the closing of the remaining half. Jochen Flasbarth is head of Germany's Environmental Protection Agency. He says that all sectors of the country are now on board.
What we gain now is a full support of a new policy energy in Germany. So we have a very stable basis for economic players everybody knows there is no way back to nuclear, and I think that is really an asset, and we can see it already in Germany, the dynamic that this has caused for the new industry.
So can Vermont go big with renewables? And could that push translate to local job creation?
One of the exciting things about this project is that these trackers were designed and manufactured just 4 miles down the road. And that provides a real picture of what Vermont's energy future and jobs future could look like.
We may create jobs in the alternative energy industry, but if the cost of those sources of energy are much higher than the alternatives, then people are going to have less income to spend somewhere else, which means fewer jobs.
Everything that you build in Vermont makes our grid in Vermont stronger, more reliable, greater tax base, salaries for working people, and strengthens and makes our grid more independent.
Vermont is a small state. What is the harm in letting the rest of the country carry the load in terms of the power we buy, and waiting till that price goes down and then installing it?
And then there's cost. Right now, renewable power is more expensive, but none of these people we spoke with at a local science lecture seem to mind.
If I paid a little bit extra and had the renewable in the mix, I guess I'd be willing to do that.
If you were said, pay twice as much, ooh, that's a lot. If it was pay 50% more, probably.
We should be paying more anyway, and I think we should pay for whatever it is that technology costs.
I would definitely be willing to pay more for a short period of time. If it were going to last forever, that would make you think about it a little bit more.
If one were to say, would you be willing to risk your job or risk someone else's job to buy subsidized power, I think the answer might be a little bit different.
Going forward, the state's energy plan will no doubt be further debated, possibly even amended. But the goal of 90% renewable energy by 2050 has been set. And if you look around, you'll see that the Vermont landscape has already undergone significant changes towards reaching it.